Welcome to Smokey Uncuffed. I'm Brian. On this channel we'll talk about law enforcement, social platforming, social networking, just kind of all the things I do from time to time, and just life. One thing before we get going too far, something I hadn't spit out there and I've been trying to remember to, go to www.smokeyuncuffed.com. You can check out all my links, all the equipment I'm using, and you can find all my podcasts there, as well as finding them on just whatever platform you want to listen to. I think I'm listed on maybe 16, 17 of them. So today, I've got a guest on. His name's Brandon Eddy. This is a deputy from Murray County, Oklahoma. Guy I worked with for years, and he's now involved in social networking. And so this is Brandon, and so just tell us about you, man.
I'm, like I said, my name's Brandon. I grew up in Davis. I was born in Sulphur. I also, I graduated from Davis in 2002. After that, I moved away for a little while, and that's later on met my wife. And
Where'd you move to?
I moved to Durant, Oklahoma.
Oh, Lordy.
Yeah, we wasn't up there very long. That's where I actually met my wife. Then returned back to Davis, and I began working for P&M Record, which is a record company. I worked for them 2 or 3 years. That's how I kind of started meeting everybody in law enforcement, going to the wrecks and stuff.
That's where I met you.
Yeah. There's, like I say, all kinds of wrecks up and down I-35. And then while working at P&M, we'd learned that my brother had got real bad on drugs, and I could remember calling in, at times to the 911 saying, he was coming in with drugs and stuff and is in assault. And they would seem like nothing would ever happen. So, it was kind of a joke. I put in an application as a reserve for Davis, and they ended up picking me up. Well, needless to say is just because once I got to school, Cleat, and got to learning that just because somebody's got drugs doesn't mean you can actually stop them just for any reason. You got to have probable cause and a little bit. That's when I started learning about law enforcement. So after I got in, I took, my main deal was to help people with narcotics and try to get the narcotics off the street. Like I say, later, about a year and a half into it, I ended up getting a K9. So Harley's been with me for almost 4 years now, I think. But
you got a new one now, right?
Yeah, I've got a younger one that we're actually training right now. But I'm not for sure when we're going to actually bring him out or bring her out. We may go ahead and breed her into another one because Harley's probably got another couple years. So we may just try to take one of her pups after that.
Now is the new one a Malinois?
Yeah, it's a Belgian Malinois. She's about 9 months old now. She got massive ball drives. It's crazy the way she is. She's all over the place.
Okay, so right there you said ball drive.
Yes.
Which is?
Ball drive is to have a narcotics dog or a drug dog, the dog has to have ball drive. A lot of people think that dogs are addicted to drugs. Well, the dog has no clue what the drugs are. Right. All they know is that smell is, wherever that smell is, that's where their ball is.
That's a training tactic. The ball drive's a training thing.
Yes, yeah. If your dog don't have ball drive, you're not going to get anything out of it.
And I'm going to say those Belgian Malinois, if you've never seen one in action, you need to just look them up on YouTube. Those things, they're smaller than a German Shepherd, but I think I'd rather take on a German Shepherd.
Yeah, they've got a lot of power. It's like that's what they're bred to do. Is I don't know. It's more ball drive and more activity than I'm used to with my Harley's half German Shepherd and half Lab. He favors more of a Lab. He's not as excited. He's not jumping over everything.
Which and Labs are good drug dogs.
Yes,
their nose is amazing. It's just they don't have that attack mentality.
Right, and that Harley's just a single-purpose dog. Like I said, been with me about 4, maybe 5 years, and we've got a lot of drugs off the street. Like I say, he's single-purpose. Roxy, if we actually get to bring her on, she's going to be a full patrol dog where, I can actually release her and let her go track whoever ran, or, if I get in a bind, I can pop the door and and she'll come up there and help me
Oh,
out.
so she's gonna do tracking too.
Yeah, it's be a full patrol dog.
So you're the one training her to do all this?
Yeah. I've trained Harley from the very beginning. So that was the deal. Is we purchased these dogs. Me and Sergeant Montgomery over in Davis, which the Davis Police Department purchased his. I purchased mine myself. So his dog is my dog's brother. So they're brothers. And I actually believe it's got 2 more brothers that's actually in law enforcement up in the north part of the United States.
So that dog's family is really serving.
Yeah. You know, and that's kind of the deal when we got it. You know, I didn't feel like when we bought the dogs, to me, I just thought, you know, letting a dog run back and forth to find a box and then you know, come to alert, you know, that's awesome. Well, needless to say is when they started class, I mean, these dogs were like releasing, and I mean, they was running straight to the odor. So, you know, they was really green. So we brought him back, and I worked every single day with him. He didn't have very good ball drive. He honestly didn't have ball drive. I was almost to the point to where I was done with it. And I actually looked up on YouTube how to get ball drive with a dog. And that's when I learned that, you know, some dogs like the fight. So I got a piece of rope and tied the ball to it, and then that's when things started changing because he liked the
He was
tug.
like tugging more.
Yeah.
Right. You know, when I was on patrol, it was one time in particular. I remember I had to shut down the way station, northbound. Yeah, northbound on the interstate out here. It was one of our CID guys. And he goes, hey, I'm just working my dog out here, not a big deal. And he said, I just don't want people coming in, running them over while I'm out here working. I said, okay, yeah, I can do that. So what I didn't know was he had a buddy driving this pickup. His buddy stops this pickup. And when the trooper went up towards the car, the buddy jumps out of his truck real quick, and the trooper hit a automatic release on the door. And he said a command in German, which I don't speak German.
Right.
This dog came out like a rocket. And the guy got out in a full bite suit, and this dog jumped from about 15 to 20 feet out, caught him in the chest, took him down, and was tearing him apart. And he called him off, and the dog went and sat beside him. And so then the guy stood back up. The trooper's walking the dog back to the SUV, and the guy takes off walking around the front of his truck. That dog saw him and thought he was running and met him on the other side. And I didn't think they was going to get him off. And the whole time all I could think was, what an idiot. Not that the guy was even thinking about the dog coming back. I just think he's an idiot from the get-go for putting a bite suit on and allowing one of these dogs to attack him.
Yeah, I've actually had a sleeve on, and the pressure from a dog is unreal. I never realized how much pressure they had with their mouth, but it's pretty crazy. And you know, that's another thing about a bite dog is it's your partner and it's your dog, but you're responsible for everything that dog does. So if he gets out and bites somebody, you're in a bind. So if you release him, you better be sure he's going to let go on command.
But on the flip of that, if the dog goes and gets after somebody, the guy pulls out a knife and stabs him and kills him, it's killing a police officer.
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, it's the same penalty.
It's the same penalty for that situation. And you see, you know, the news is real bad. You know, zooming in, and they're always trying to, you know, catch us when we're doing something wrong. But you see some dogs that, you know, don't release right on command, and you know that's embarrassing to a handler.
Right.
You know, but a lot of that goes back to training. You know, we have to maintain so many training hours a month, and you know, because all that's open to records, and if you don't train, I mean, they're not going to continue working and excelling, you know, because their obedience is a big factor into it.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know, there was a deputy in Garvin County that he did a lot of dog training, and everybody brought their dogs to him. And the funny thing about it, at his place, what ran his facility was a weenie dog. He had trained this weenie dog and was drug certified, and he was taking it out on patrol, and he'd pick it up and set it in the car, and he'd go up and find the dope. They'd find it. It was amazing. And it was funny to get out and see him getting out and searching the car with a weenie dog. But that little weenie dog ran his facility. It didn't matter how big the dog was. They all obeyed that little dog because he was old and was not scared of nothing. The deputy that did that training and was their biggest handler, he had one dog, and I cannot remember the dog's name. was crazy. And this thing was so crazy, whenever he got it out, and it was a situation where we were trying to get somebody out of somewhere. One I can bring up is right out by the interstate, there was this huge bush. And one of the guys had been chasing this guy. And he got all the way up into the middle of this bush that's about 20 feet across. Well, we were going to climb up in the side of the bush and get this guy. We couldn't see his hands. So we called the dog. He shows up and tells us, everybody get in the cars. Because when he commanded his dog, he would go to the next person he saw and tear into him.
Right.
So we all got in our cars. He went in and grabbed this guy by the elbow with it bent and drug him out. And I thought, and this guy's squealing to high heaven. And he goes, I guess next time you'll come out whenever we tell you to come on out. And very effective. I mean, I wasn't going to crawl in there and get him.
Right.
But the dog didn't mind.
Well, it's funny you say that because that particular dog, his name is Czar.
Is it Czar? Okay.
It's Czar. And, you know, that's something when you have a dog that, you know, years later that you still hear stories about. But that dog has been brought up so many times by the fines. And, I mean, that dog was almost like human. They said that he would listen to that trainer. I mean, he could say anything and that dog would do it. And I've never met that trainer, but I've heard his name a lot, especially in the dog world.
Well, and now, in fairness, whenever he was doing that and he was telling us to get in our cars, I think Czar was a puppy. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think he was just on the road, was a brand new and he was trying. And he said, oh, he'll bite, but he may bite you. I'm not, right. We're not there yet, but, you know, he'll go get this guy. And, oh, boy, he was right. I don't know what this guy was thinking.
Yeah, they're definitely, you know, that's what they're trained to do. So that, you know, if you take off and you get to give the commands, you know, they don't care who you are. That they know they know they're fixing to get their toy if they go get that.
That's right.
You know, that's the main thing. So it follows just like the drugs as if you know, a tracking dog. You know, because they know at the end of the track their toy's going to be there.
Well, and I think part of it, the dog's going into protect mode.
Right.
It's protecting its owner. That's mine. He's mine. You don't mess with him, and I'm going to eat you up if you get near him.
Right, right. And that's like mine. He's not actually a patrol dog. He's not a attack dog. But if something was to happen to me, I would almost guarantee that he would definitely bail out.
In Ada, there was a guy that had a black lab as a patrol dog, I guess, because I watched that dog, sweetest dog you could ever meet. I'd come up, it'd be like a lab and lay up against you, want to be scratched. I watched him call that dog one time, and that dog went from being sweet lab to Cujo in about half a second, and I'm thinking, uh-oh. But that dog had it. It wasn't going, you weren't going to touch his owner.
No,
that was it. And, you know, that's what dogs are supposed to do. They're supposed to protect you.
And that's like my dog. Harley's been with us ever, 4 or 5 years. So my kids can actually walk into the pen and play with him. And, so matter of fact is we got 4 children, and every time we came home from the hospital, we automatically took the baby out to his pen and, let him see him, kind of introduce. And every one of my children, it's funny, they're almost, besides mom and dad, is Harley. That my little girl's the same way right now.
Don't worry, I'm not going to try to come get one of your kids.
Yeah, there's definitely protective.
I've seen him. I'm not going to mess with him.
Yeah, he's about 110 pounds now. So we're trying to cut him back since it's, summer's coming up, and but we put some winter weight on him to make it through.
So we'll go back up here a little bit. One of the first things I remember doing with you, you were working for the record service.
Uh-huh.
Don't know if you remember this or not, Mike. I was working a wreck in the median at the 50-mile marker northbound. Got done working it. You'd showed up in the wrecker, and about then, here comes a Mercedes going the wrong way in the inside lane, going southbound to the northbound lanes. I run out in the road and, like an idiot, jump in the road and stop this guy on foot and get him off in the median. Well, then we get to the door, and I start trying to pull out. It's an older man. And I mean, he wasn't a great big guy. He was stout, but he wasn't a great big guy. But he wouldn't give me his hands, and he wouldn't get out of the car. So I drag him out of the car, and then he falls forward and lays on his hands. And so rather than use the methods that I used back then, because this was early on in my career, fairly early on in my career, I mean, the way you get that done is you hold their head and knee check them in the head until they pull a hand out, because it works.
Right.
I just simply looked at you and said, hey, Brandon, why don't you come get this guy's arm out? And you came over there as a record working for the record, and grabbed this dude's arm and just pried it out, put it behind the back. I put cuffs on it, got the other one, and we hauled him off of Pokey.
Wow.
Do you remember that?
I don't. But,
Yeah, I mean, that was early on, and it wasn't long after that you went to work for Davis PD.
Yeah, it's weird you say that because that's something that you would think I would remember, but you know as well as I do is we get in so much that it's unreal. You know, that's kind of the deal right now with Oklahoma passing this the laws where basically drugs are legal.
Oh.
You know, you write a ticket and let them go. It has done nothing but increase the crime. Right now, we have got so many sexual assaults on kids that it's unreal. Break-ins, it's crazy. So I'm hoping they see that soon and try to change some of that.
Well, if they're not anytime soon, there's a lot more going on right now.
Yes, and that, you know, that's kind of the deal. That, you know, they say these people don't need to be in prison. You know, they need to get them help. But I think we're going almost 2 years now, and we still haven't got any facilities or anything made. And that's, you know, I don't know. It's crazy, but it's going to have to happen to a certain person before things start changing to go back.
Well, and it was before I ever started the podcast. But if you guys are interested, go back and check out the one where I talked about medical marijuana or marijuana in Oklahoma. I don't remember what I titled it. You'll get the gist of my opinion of it. I'm obviously not for it, but you know, we're not the ones that makes the rules. Okay, so we'll change gears here just a little bit. So I worked with you for about 4 or 5 years before I retired. So for probably about 2 of those years, I knew you also did woodworking. We're making American flags, and so about 2 years, I was pushing to get on YouTube.
Yeah, that's right. It took me almost 2 years to, you know, actually download it. Yeah, I downloaded it and played with it for a little bit, and then I was just like, I can't talk in front of a camera. And, you know, then I continued watching your videos along with others.
Daniel's, I talk about Arms Family Homestead on here a lot.
Basically watch y'all's videos and, you know, listen to all y'all's stories. So one night I was in the shop, so I thought I'd, you know, try. So I made a little video on how to put stars. I put my stars on the flag. And I never forget this night. I was sitting at this particular night, I was sitting at the ER in Ada. I was sick, and I actually downloaded that video from my phone in the ER that night. So after that, I just kind of left it alone and continued. I just listen and watch y'all's, and next thing I know, I look at it and there's like 6,000 views, and I'm like, holy cow, I can do this. Right. So that's when I started buying. I started out with a little cheaper camera and made a few videos, and I just kind of got the YouTube fever, and it kind of went up from there.
Yeah, I'd say it went up from there. I've been doing it for about, year and a half now, maybe getting close to 2 years. And you've been monetized since January, and I'm going to guess within the next 2 months you pass me on subscriptions. But you're making videos every day, every other day.
Yeah, I try to put out 2 or 3 videos a day, which, you know.
A day?
Or, scratch that. I try to put out 2 or 3 videos a week. Sometimes I only get 2, but I try to. But, you know, starting off a channel, if you don't know anybody, it's going to be really, really hard.
Right.
Because if it wasn't for you and Daniel and Dutch, you know, I wouldn't be where I'm at today just because, you know, I did an interview with you here at you made my wooden flag. And then I presented Dutch and Daniel with the flag. Well, at the time, both of those guys had 200,000 subscribers.
Right.
So
that's gold right there.
Yeah, I mean that was basically gold because I didn't have to look to see when they posted because my YouTube channel went crazy as soon as one of them posted. I mean, I was hitting subscribers. It was unreal.
It had stopped.
No, it hasn't. It really hasn't. You know, it slowed down just a little bit, but then I started making some videos. Right now, I mean, knock on wood, I hope it stays. We're getting anywhere from 30 to 50 subscribers a day. So hopefully it keeps going. In particular, you know, I get them from other videos, but I got one video out there that's going pretty good. It's up to, I think, about 60 to 70,000 views now, and a lot of the subscribers are coming from that.
What's the name of your channel?
Our channel is Rustic Woodwork and Family. When we first started, it was just rustic woodwork, but there's just so much you can do in the shop, you know.
Oh, I'm aware.
Yeah, so much you can do in the shop. And, you know, one of the videos, the kids was in it, and then, you know, obviously talking to you and Daniel, you know, about, you know, everybody loved dogs. So I talked about the dogs and on one video, and from there, the audience just wanted to see more. So now, you know, that changed it up. You know, it was just Rustic Woodwork. I wanted to change the whole channel, but decided to change it to Rustic Woodwork and Family because we had our family in a lot
I
of the
remember
videos.
talking about it, yeah.
And then also law enforcement. They talk a lot about law enforcement on the channel, as well as you know, dog training and just a little bit of everything.
And where I think it makes yours interesting, where I couldn't get away with it on any of my stuff when I was working for the patrol, because I couldn't talk about Oklahoma Highway Patrol. They had policy against talking about anything, the way, any workings of our organization, any way that we do things, just simply because they want to protect, I guess, all the trade secrets, which to me aren't trade secrets. You can watch live PD and pick up on what we do.
Correct. And, you know, I can see where they're going with that, but in another hand, you know, showing the public what we do and what we go through, I think that, you know, helps them understand some of the stuff. Now, Grant, there's some people out there, I don't care if you're right or wrong. I mean, they're going to hate the cops. They can care less for you. And obviously for the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've been getting a lot of hate mail, but that's just part of it. It don't matter if you showed up at their house to save their child, that you've done something wrong during that. Just people like that.
Yeah, and basically my point to that is you actually put stuff about law enforcement on your channel. You talk about your drug dogs. You talk about going to work each day and some of the other stuff you do. And it just ties into your channel, and it's really upped your views,
Yes.
other than just doing the woodworking.
Yes, it definitely has. You know, I also talk a lot, like I said earlier, you know, I've got a brother that's is fighting the addiction of drugs. You know, I've arrested a lot of people here where I work. And, you know, if I can try to help them get in some kind of rehab and try to, you know, change their life, you know, that's what I'm looking for. I've had a lot of people, unfortunately, come to my house and thank me, and, you know, that's the reason why I got cameras now. But, you know, that when somebody...
Which they probably had good intent,
yes,
but you
yes.
never know.
Yes, they had good intent, and, you know, something like that is one of those thank yous is worth, you know, 100 bad comments, you know.
Right.
There's one particular girl now. She is actually clean. She's been clean for 3 years, and she's got a job. She got her child back, and when I see her in public, because she's from this area, it just really makes me feel good, because if I wouldn't have took her to jail that night, her life would still be going down that road. That's what she told me.
Well, I'm going to steal from my last podcast something Craig Minley said: the power of one. That's the power of one person changing a life, right
Correct.
there.
And there's a lot of things, you know, I try to help a lot of people, but you got to realize a lot of these guys are in jail. They're con artists. You know, they're gonna try to do whatever they can to get out of jail. And unfortunately, you know, we get more of them that try that method, and it kind of messes up for the people that really try.
Well, I mean, you really can't help them until they want help.
Correct.
That they're at that point where they need the help, and if they can't find it, you can point them in the right direction. But until they want it, it's not going to do you any good. I mean, because they're just going to keep going down whatever path they want to go down.
Yeah, that's like my brother. He's been on this for about 8-9 years, ever since my mom passed away. You know,
It's a coping mechanism.
yes, yes. And I've talked to him, and he says, you know, it just makes all the pain go away. And I understand that, but you know, that it's obviously he's lost everything. He had everything. He had a wife. He had 2 kids, a nice double wide trailer, 40 acres, white pipe fence around it, and he lost all that, I'd say, within 6 months.
Only in Oklahoma will you hear nice double wide trailer.
yeah, for sure. And going back on it, he lost it all. So, and I tried to help him multiple times. Me and my wife both have took him to rehabs, and my dad and stepmom have, and he almost beat us home. You know, so the last 2 years we have done nothing but give him tough love to the point that he's slept outside of my house in a truck because he's not welcome to my house.
Well, and sometimes that's what's needed for them to wake up.
Yes, and it was hard for him to refusing to come in, because when he was around, my oldest son just worshipped the ground he walked on, and unfortunately I had to have a talk with my son that Uncle's sick right now, and he's got to get some help. But to say all that is he's actually about 66 days clean. He's in a place in Oklahoma City.
Excellent.
This is the longest he's ever stayed in rehab, and we was talking the other night. It's a 3-month program or 4-month program, but it's really expensive. It's $60,000 for this program.
But worth it.
Yes, every bit of it's worth it. And he told us the other night that he's not coming home. He don't want to come back to it. And
that's fine.
And that's awesome. And that's what we recommend to a lot of the people, that when they try to, get off the drugs, is not to come back.
Right.
Not that we don't want them back, is you get around a lot of the older friends.
You get in the same groove, and you're going to get down the same path. And I mean, okay, so he moves to Tennessee, for example. You got a car.
Correct. Yes.
You can go visit him a couple times a year.
And you say people get out of jail, they have their minds right. They want to stay straight. I had a gentleman tell me this the other night. He said, you get out of jail in the first couple of nights, your old buddy's coming up, here, man, I know you've been, been down and out. I mean, right there, right back in front of your face. And next thing you do, you fall back off into it because you don't know anything else.
So, his coping mechanism, what he was doing was coping with the pain of a loss with the drugs. And unfortunately, a lot of times you'll see law enforcement do the same thing with alcohol.
Yes. And there's kind of a story behind that. Me, when I graduated high school, I was real bad on alcohol, up to about, I haven't had a drink in almost 8.5 years now, but what I use for my coping is the actual woodworking. Is to go home and I can go in the shop and turn on my radio and just.
There's no worries.
There's no worries. You get off because here's the deal. You get off at 2 a.m. the hoot owl, the hoot, and you can't just go home and lay down because you're gonna think about everything that you've just done. And as well, some nights it's nothing real stressful, but other nights it's just it's one call after the other, and a lot of our stuff's bad news. You
may be in a foot pursuit and a fist fight 30 minutes ago, then you got off work, and then you're home still wired, ready to go at it.
Correct. Talking something like that is, this was a really weird night. A pregnant lady was on the way to the hospital. We escorted her to the hospital. So she fixing to give birth. And 15 minutes later, we get called to a crash, and this person has lost their life in the crash. So right. you saw a new life, and then you lost.
Absolutely.
That's what a lot of people don't realize. They think we're just out there stopping cars, but no, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes.
The amount of stuff, I always tell my wife this, the amount of stuff I've seen in my lifetime, and I'm only 45. I'm old, but I'm only 45. The amount of stuff I've seen, I would say 90% of the population doesn't need to see everything I've seen.
No, for sure. Especially, y'all working with Oklahoma Highway Patrol, because y'all work all the crashes,
all the fatalities,
and there's no telling. You got a vehicle that there's got a fender bender, and you think they're okay. You may get up there and it's a 30.
Well, and probably one of the worst was it just still burnt in my brain. I was probably 21, 22. I was a medic at Valley View EMS in Ada, Oklahoma. It's now called Mercy EMS, and this lady called. She was meeting us. She was coming from Kanawha. We met her in the ambulance, and she gets out and hands me her dead baby. This baby probably was 7, maybe 8 months old. As soon as she handed it to me, the baby's cold.
Right.
I know this, and this baby's lifeless. I turned to look at my partner. At the time, I was just an intermediate, and he was a paramedic. And I said, he goes, well, let's work him. And so we get in the doors, and he tries to do a few things, but he just looks at me, man, this kid's dead. We're not going to do anything with it.
Right.
But the way we cope with that for the family is we get in the ambulance and we drive, just full steam ahead, lights and sirens. We get to the hospital and we tell them on the way that, yeah, this is a 30, this is a fatality, they're dead already.
But just if y'all was to just stop right there, with the way the public is, they would y'all didn't do anything to
Right.
save the baby,
Right.
and that's the reason why
And it went on from there. We
Right.
rushed her in the back door, and they took him into a room, wouldn't let the family in. They were in there working with the baby, which really not much was going on because the child had been dead for hours.
yeah.
Somebody woke up and found it this way. I mean, it's sad.
It is sad, but that's people don't think of all the stuff we go through. Back it's been probably about 3-4 years now. We had a semi hit a bus going with softball girls.
I remember that. The bus southbound about the 46 mile marker, 47 mile marker.
Right at 47. So the semi hit the bus. Had softball girls going back to Texas, and I hadn't even been back into. I wasn't even certified at the time. We get a call on the interstate as a semi versus a bus. So, I'm still new.
And to clear that up, the town he worked for at Davis PD was 2 miles from the interstate, and whenever a lot of times we were working, it was one of us out there. And so when that stuff happened, we called all hands on deck. I mean, we expected Davis PD to come help us, the sheriff's office, whoever. We needed help.
Yes, and I'll never forget this night. And I pulled up and seen the bus on the side, and you get out of the vehicle, and it's like you could hear a pin drop because everything's quiet. But at the same time, all you can hear is girls screaming. You could smell a metallic smell, which was blood. Everybody had blood all over them. And a lot of people listen to this, they're going to say, oh, this is graphic. Well, this is what really goes on in law enforcement. This is what we go home to. I mean, you deal with that, but then you still got to go home to be with your family. Unfortunately, that was the worst wreck that Murray County I believe, has ever had. There were several fatalities. I'm not going to go on into the rest
It
of
makes it the worst one because these are all teenagers.
Yes.
And I mean, they haven't lived life yet. And standing on this end, I don't want to make that notification and tell mom and daddy, hey, this truck driver lost control and killed a kid.
Correct. And, a lot of people want to know why, when you do a death notification, I went into this the other night in my video, is why do you say they're dead? Well, when you do a death notification, you want to make sure they understand. You don't want to beat around the bush. I'm sorry to inform you, your child has been killed in an accident.
Right.
Because that way they're not,
I've actually talked about this on here before because, I mean, if you go in and say, your son Billy was in a motor vehicle accident and he didn't survive. Okay, so where'd they take him?
Right.
What do you mean where'd they take him? He didn't survive. Okay, but what hospital is he at?
Correct.
And when you finally go, he died in the accident, he was killed, sets in.
Yes.
And so it only took 1 or 2 times of me saying they did not survive that I changed that from Billy was in an accident, he was killed as a result of this accident, and who can I call for you? And this is a pastor, and they are here to help.
Right. And you know as well as I do, you never forget the death cries for your children.
Well, right. And I mean, I've even talked about on here that one of them, this lady, which she meant nothing of it, I made nothing of it, she attacked me, started punching me. I just took it. I mean, I understood. Now, because if you took one of my 2 kids and did that, I'm going to be looking for somebody.
Right.
I'm going to lose my mind.
That's the deal. That's a pain I hope I never have to go through. I don't look forward to it. But taking that back, that's where my rustic wood, building my flags has helped me so much to get in with that. And then, we started YouTube after visiting with you and Daniel. I'll never forget the night we were sitting down at the I-35 Snack Shack or A&W talking about it. And I remember going home that night and just looking everything up and saying, this is it, I'm going to do it. So after that video got 6,000 or 7,000 views, I bought a cheaper camera and then I upgraded to another camera. But, since I've started YouTube, we got off the subject earlier, but, right now I'm sitting right about 3,500 subscribers, and a lot of that has come in the last 27 days. I've got about 800 subscribers.
Right, you're a lot right now. You're burning up. And see, my bigger channel, it's only got 5,200. That's why I'm saying in 2 months you're going to be past me.
But I got different content.
But in fairness, I mean, all I do is woodwork. On that channel, it's woodwork.
And see, that's the deal. In my channel, I can do woodwork and talk about my dogs, talk about my family, or talk about law enforcement. You know, there's no telling what you're going to see on my channel. If you want to go check our channel out, it's Rustic Woodwork and Family. I mean, one day we may be at the creek, and next day we may be in the shop building something.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
You just never know.
So, man, this has been fun. We're definitely going to have to do this again sometime. I mean, we could get on here and just tell stories for an hour.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, like he said, his channel is Rustic Woodwork and Family. You can find it on YouTube. Don't forget to go check me out at www.smokeyuncuffed.com. Also, check out rusticwoodwork.org, and you can check out his website, and you can order his flags. And I'm telling you, these flags are top notch. I've got one sitting here in my shop right now. If I'd have been a thinking man, I'd have hung it on the wall behind me, but nobody's ever accused me of that. So, you guys, thanks for listening today. Don't forget to subscribe to Smokey Uncuffed on YouTube and my podcast. And please don't forget about Smokey CNC Woodworks. That's going to be all for today. I'll see y'all and hear y'all next time.